March 27, 1972. Laguna Niguel, California. FBI agent James Conway sweeps his flashlight across a crater in reinforced concrete, a hole wide enough to drop a refrigerator through. Motes of pulverized cement drift through the beam like gray snow. 2 alarm systems, both military grade, both dead. The vault door stands open, untouched. The burglars never needed it. And 458 safety deposit boxes line the walls. Every single one gutted, their doors hanging open like broken jaws. Whoever did this didn't smash and grab. They moved furniture down here. They brought sleeping bags, food, and power tools. They lived in this vault for days, methodically emptying every box, then vanished without leaving a single fingerprint, a single witness, or a single frame of usable security footage. The man who owned those boxes can never report the crime, because that man is President Nixon. His secret slush fund, millions in bribes and kickbacks, was hidden 60 miles from his Western White House. If he reports the theft, he admits the money existed. He admits illegal activity. He goes to prison. Nixon got robbed blind, and he has to stay silent. What happens when a sitting president becomes the victim of a crime he can't acknowledge? And what kind of thief is bold enough, or desperate enough, to bet his entire life on that silence? December 1971. Richard Nixon needs cash that doesn't exist on paper. His re-election operation, officially named the Committee to Re-elect the President, insiders already call it CREEP, has been vacuuming up illegal donations for months. Corporations and wealthy donors want government favors, regulatory approvals, tax breaks, policy changes. Nixon's bagmen collect cash in exchange for promises. No receipts, no records. Executives hide donations as consulting fees. Dairy interests funnel $2 million. ITT gives $400,000 and quietly avoids antitrust trouble. But Nixon's appetite for untraceable money is bottomless, and one man has exactly what he craves. Jimmy Hoffa, president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, has been rotting in a federal prison cell since 1967. Convicted of jury tampering and pension fund fraud, Hoffa ran the most powerful union in America from behind bars, issuing orders through intermediaries, maintaining his grip on the Teamsters' massive treasury. That treasury holds hundreds of millions of dollars. Hoffa wants out. Through back channels, he offers Nixon a transaction so simple it sounds like a joke. $3 million in cash for a presidential pardon. Nixon agrees without hesitation. On December 23, 1971, 2 days before Christmas, Nixon signs Hoffa's commutation papers. The Teamsters boss walks out of Lewisburg Penitentiary a free man after serving less than 5 years of a 13-year sentence. The $3 million flows into Nixon's slush fund, untraceable, unaccountable, invisible. But Nixon slips a clause into the deal that Hoffa doesn't see coming until he reads the fine print. The pardon bars Hoffa from all union activity until 1980. He can't hold office. He can't attend meetings. He can't so much as hand out leaflets at a Teamsters hall. In other words, Jimmy Hoffa just paid $3 million to escape prison, only to be permanently exiled from the empire he spent his life building. The most powerful union boss in America got conned by the President of the United States. Hoffa is beyond furious. He's humiliated. He trusted Nixon to restore his throne, and Nixon pocketed his money and kicked him to the curb. But Hoffa is also patient. He has connections stretching from Detroit to Las Vegas to Kansas City, and through those connections, he learns something that changes everything. He knows exactly where Nixon is hiding that money. By early 1972, Nixon's slush fund exceeded $10 million. The money can't touch official accounts. So his people choose a small Laguna Niguel bank near Nixon's San Clemente compound and fill 458 anonymous safety deposit boxes over the course of several months. Nixon thinks it's invisible. He's catastrophically wrong. Hoffa has mafia contacts who've been laundering money through banks for decades. Within weeks, he knows the exact location of Nixon's hidden vault, the layout of the building, the model numbers of the alarm systems. and he knows a crew in Ohio capable of cracking it open without leaving a trace. The only question remaining: who do you call when you want to rob the President of the United States? And why would any thief be reckless enough to take that job, knowing that if Nixon decides revenge matters more than secrecy, they'll disappear into a federal black site and never be seen again? 1972, Youngstown, Ohio. The FBI calls this Steel Town, Crime Town, USA, and the nickname understates the reality. Mafia families have controlled Youngstown for generations. They own the police chief, half the city council, and judges at every level. Car bombings happen so frequently that locals have a nickname for them: Youngstown tune-ups. Between 1960 and 1980, more than 75 bombs explode in the city. So many that the blasts barely make the evening news. It's exactly the kind of place where a talented criminal can operate for decades without ever seeing the inside of a courtroom. The most talented of them all is 35-year-old Emil Dincio. Breaking into banks since his teens, he avoids guns, daylight, and violence. He studies wiring diagrams, not escape routes, perfecting his understanding of vaults and alarms before he ever touches them. By 1972, the FBI suspects him in more than 30 burglaries totaling over $20 million. No arrests stick. Crime scenes are immaculate. One agent calls him the best who ever lived. The crew is family. His younger brother James handles explosives and fabricates custom tools. His brother-in-law Chuck Mulligan drives. His nephews Harry and Ronald Barber provide muscle and conduct advanced scouting. For 15 years, this team has cracked banks across the Midwest with military precision. In 1970, the crew pulled a job that became legendary in criminal circles. They rented a storefront next to a bank in Pennsylvania. Over a holiday weekend, they tunneled through the shared wall, dropped into the vault from above, and walked out with hundreds of thousands in cash. By the time employees returned Tuesday morning, the crew was back in Ohio counting money. The FBI found no fingerprints, no physical evidence, no leads. The case went cold within weeks. In early 1972, a Hoffa associate travels to Youngstown and approaches Dincio with a proposition unlike anything he's ever heard. There's a vault in Southern California stuffed with dirty money, possibly $30 million. It belongs to the president's illegal campaign fund, hidden in safety deposit boxes, protected by standard commercial alarms. And here's the catch that makes the job unique. If they steal it, Nixon can never report the theft. Dincio's nephew Harry Barber would later explain the logic plainly. What was Nixon going to do? Call the FBI and say they took the money from that milk deal he pulled? He stole it himself first. He couldn't say a word without going to prison. Dincio isn't naive. Robbing the president sounds like a fast track to a shallow grave. Nixon controls the FBI, the CIA, and the IRS. If he wants someone to disappear, they disappear. But the more Dincio thinks about it, the more he sees the opportunity clearly. Nixon's corruption isn't just their target, it's their insurance policy. The only person who could demand a real investigation is the one person who never will. Every dollar Nixon hides is a dollar he can't claim. Dincio agrees to scout the target. He flies to California under a false name, rents a car, and spends 3 days watching the United California Bank in Laguna Niguel. He photographs the building from every angle. He times police patrols. He notes the alarm company's service schedule. And when he flies home to Ohio, his decision is made. The job looks possible. They're taking it. March 1972. Dincio and 5 crew members fly from Cleveland to Los Angeles under assumed names. They rent a condominium near the bank and spend 2 weeks watching the building with scientific patience. They map guard rotations down to the minute. They log alarm checks by the security company. They photograph the exterior at every time of day. At night, they crawl through adjacent buildings in the commercial plaza, measuring walls, calculating distances to the vault, identifying utility conduits and ventilation shafts. Dincio isn't planning a burglary. He's planning an occupation. The United California Bank sits in a strip mall. Commercial space on top, bank on the ground floor. And directly above the vault is a sporting goods store. Dincio realizes that if his crew gains access to that store, they can cut through the floor and drop directly into the vault chamber. bypassing every ground floor sensor, every door alarm, every motion detector. They'll enter from above, like ghosts descending through the ceiling. On Friday, March 24th, the crew moves into position. They've acquired police scanners, acetylene torches, and enough dynamite to blow through 18 inches of reinforced concrete, and one ingredient that reveals Dincio's obsessive preparation: surfboard foam. The same closed-cell polyurethane used to build boards for the surfers near Nixon's San Clemente beach. When they detonate the charges, the foam will muffle the blast to a dull thump, inaudible from the street. Saturday night, 11 p.m. The plaza is empty. The bank is dark. The crew seals the sporting goods store from inside and begins cutting through the floor. Hours of work with torches and drills, then the dynamite. The shaped charge punches a hole through the vault ceiling. Dust billows upward through the store. No alarms, no sirens, no footsteps from a security guard. Dincio drops through the gap and lands on the vault floor. He's standing in a room lined with safety deposit boxes floor to ceiling, all 458 of them, each one a locked mystery. Over the next 36 hours, the crew works in shifts. They drill locks, they pry faceplates, they blowtorch hinges, they find bundled cash held in rubber bands, bearer bonds worth hundreds of thousands, jewelry, gold coins, and documents that would later be described in court only as sensitive. They work through Saturday night, all day Sunday, Sunday night, barely sleeping, surviving on sandwiches smuggled down through the hole in the ceiling. By Monday morning, every box is empty. The crew hauls the last of the loot back through the ceiling, patches the hole well enough to delay discovery, and vanishes. By the time bank employees arrive Tuesday and find their vault looking like a bomb crater, Dincio's crew is back in Ohio, dividing millions in cash across half a dozen safe houses scattered through 3 states. The heist makes national news within hours. Reporters call it the biggest bank burglary in American history. The FBI dispatches a special task force. Bank executives face cameras ashen-faced, unable to explain how anyone defeated their security. The insurance company braces for catastrophic claims. But here's the strange part. Very few depositors come forward. The people who rented those 458 safety deposit boxes don't file police reports. They don't demand investigations. They stay silent, because they can't admit what they lost without admitting why they hid it there. Dincio reads the news coverage with quiet satisfaction. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no forensic trail. The perfect crime, executed exactly as planned. Except for one detail he doesn't know yet. Somebody on the crew made a mistake so small it seems almost comical, and so devastating it will bring every one of them down. FBI headquarters, Washington, D.C. The Laguna Niguel case lands on the desk of Special Agent Norman Chamberlain, a veteran who spent years chasing Dincio's crew without ever catching them. Chamberlain knows Dincio's signature: roof entries, vault work over long weekends, no violence, no forensic traces. This job has his fingerprints all over it, metaphorically speaking. Literally, the vault is spotless. Chamberlain needs a break. In April 1972, he gets one. A bank in Ohio is burglarized using identical methods: explosives, roof entry, vault cleaned out over a weekend. The pattern is unmistakable. Dincio's crew got greedy. They went back to work too soon after California, and now Chamberlain has a trail. Agents pull flight records. On March 15, 1972, 9 days before the heist, 5 men from the Cleveland area flew to Los Angeles. The manifest includes Emil Dincio and several known associates. A 6th man, James Dincio, arrived the following day. Investigators find the condominium the crew rented near the bank. It's been scrubbed clean. No fingerprints on doorknobs, no receipts in the trash. The crew sanitized every surface before leaving. Almost every surface. After hours of searching, one exhausted agent notices the dishwasher. It's full. The door was closed, but the cycle was never run. Inside, unwashed plates crusted with dried food, coffee mugs with brown rings, glasses smeared with fingerprints. The burglars wiped down every doorknob in the condo and forgot to run the dishwasher. When the FBI lab processes those dishes, they lift prints belonging to Emil Dinzio, James Dinzio, Harry and Ronald Barber, Chuck Mulligan, Phil Christopher, and Charles Buckley. 7 men, every member of the crew, identified by their lousy housekeeping. The prints put them in California during the week of the heist. They don't put them inside the vault. Chamberlain still needs physical evidence linking Dinzio directly to the crime scene. What happens next remains bitterly contested to this day. According to Emil Dinzio, FBI agents conducted an illegal break-in at his Ohio property in May 1972. They allegedly entered his garage without a warrant, stole personal items, including packages of batteries, and shipped them to an FBI laboratory in Washington. Weeks later, investigators discover a flashlight near the Laguna Niguel Bank. Inside that flashlight, a battery bearing Emil Dinzio's fingerprint, the smoking gun that places him at the crime scene. Dinzio has maintained for 50 years that the FBI planted that evidence using batteries stolen from his garage. The FBI denies this categorically, claiming the flashlight was found during a legitimate search of the area around the bank. But decades later, a partially redacted FBI memo surfaced through a Freedom of Information request. The document appears to list items removed from Dinzio's property around that time, including batteries. The memo is suggestive, not conclusive. Whether the FBI crossed the line to catch the burglars may never be definitively proven. Either way, by June 1972, agents had enough to move. At dawn on June 5th, a dozen agents surround Dinzio's house in Ohio. He steps outside to retrieve his morning newspaper, wearing a bathrobe and slippers, and finds himself staring at drawn weapons. Legend has it he smirked as they slapped on the handcuffs. Took you long enough. In his mother-in-law's purse, agents find a $20 bill traced to the Laguna Niguel loot, a fragment of the haul, but enough for an arrest warrant. Over the following week, the rest of the crew is rounded up across Ohio and Pennsylvania. Millions of dollars from the vault are never recovered. Exactly 12 days after Dinzio's arrest, 5 men break into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. Another burglary, this one ordered directly by Nixon's operatives. That botched job will ignite a scandal that consumes the presidency. But before Watergate explodes, the Laguna Niguel case heads to trial, and the crew's biggest vulnerability isn't fingerprints or flight records or dirty dishes. It's the one outsider Dinzio never wanted on the job. October 1972, Federal Courthouse, Los Angeles. The case has been branded the largest bank burglary in American history. Reporters pack the gallery. Sketch artists line the front row. Emil Dinzio and his crew sit at the defense table facing charges that could bury them for decades. The evidence against them is overwhelming. Fingerprints from the condominium, flight records proving they were in Los Angeles during the heist, stolen bearer bonds recovered from their homes during the arrests. And then there's Charles Buckley. Buckley was the outsider, a friend of a friend, recruited for this one job, because the crew needed extra hands to process 458 boxes in a single weekend. Dinzio never trusted him. His instincts were right. Buckley has flipped. In exchange for full immunity, he takes the witness stand and walks the jury through every detail of the operation. The weeks of surveillance, the condominium rental, the sporting goods store above the vault, the surfboard foam packed around the dynamite, the blast muffled to a whisper. The 36 hours inside the vault, cracking boxes while the world outside slept. He names names. He assigns roles. He describes tools. He points directly at Emil Dinzio and identifies him as the mastermind. The courtroom sits in stunned silence as Buckley reconstructs the heist like a narrator describing a film. Jurors lean forward. Prosecutors barely need to speak. The defense tries every angle. Dinzio's lawyers hint that the FBI planted the flashlight battery, but without documentary proof, the judge refuses to entertain the theory. Dinzio attempts to establish a fabricated alibi, witnesses who would swear he was in Ohio the entire weekend, but an FBI informant exposes the lie on the stand. The alibi collapses in front of the jury. After a month of testimony, the jury deliberates for less than a day. Guilty on all counts, unanimous. The judge sentences Emil Dinzio, Phil Christopher and Chuck Mulligan to 20 years in federal prison each. James Dincio receives 10 years. Harry and Ronald Barber, tried separately, receive shorter terms. The crew that operated for 15 years without a single conviction is headed to federal lockup. As marshals lead them from the courtroom, one FBI agent mutters loud enough for everyone to hear, "Next time, do your dishes." Justice, in the legal sense, has been served on the burglars. But the man whose corruption made the heist possible faces no charges. Richard Nixon cannot be prosecuted for the Laguna Niguel theft. Officially, his money was never there. The president escapes accountability because admitting he was robbed would require admitting he was a criminal first. His silence protects him. Judge William Byrne Jr., who presided over the Dincio trial, soon faces his own crisis of conscience. During the Pentagon Papers case, the trial of whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg, who leaked classified Vietnam War documents, Nixon's operatives approach Byrne with a bribe. Rule against Ellsberg, and we'll make you director of the FBI. Byrne is appalled. He discloses the offer in open court, then dismisses the Ellsberg case entirely for government misconduct. The same judge who convicted the bank burglars also exposed Nixon's attempt to corrupt the judiciary. The rot had spread everywhere. August 1974. Richard Nixon resigns the presidency in disgrace as the Watergate scandal devours his administration. The secret slush funds, the illegal wiretaps, the enemies list, the obstruction of justice. His presidency collapses under the accumulated weight of 1,000 crimes. The Laguna Niguel heist didn't bring Nixon down, but it was a symptom of the same disease, a government so corrupt that a gang of Ohio burglars could rob the president and bet their freedom on his inability to call the police. Emil Dincio served approximately 8 years in federal prison before his parole in 1980. He returned to Ohio, kept a low profile for 3 decades, then published a memoir in 2014, still maintaining that the FBI framed him. Now approaching 90, he calls himself the greatest bank burglar who ever lived, without irony or apology. In recent interviews, he offers the same assessment he's given for half a century. The FBI had to steal from me to catch me. What does that say about them? The FBI's alleged evidence tampering never advanced beyond whispers and courtroom innuendo. No agent was ever disciplined. No investigation was ever opened. Much of the money stolen from the vault was never officially claimed, because those who lost it couldn't admit it was theirs. Some of Nixon's slush fund reportedly vanished into federal evidence lockers, unclaimed for decades, eventually destroyed according to standard retention policies. In the end, no one's hands were clean. The Dincio crew were professional thieves who chose their target because they knew it was vulnerable. The FBI perhaps became burglars themselves to catch burglars. Nixon was a thief in a suit who used the machinery of government to hide his crimes. When the people sworn to uphold the law operate by the same ethics as the people who break it, the concept of justice becomes a funhouse mirror, distorted, recursive, impossible to trust. For one strange moment in 1972, crime canceled out crime. A gang of working-class burglars from Youngstown, Ohio, struck at the most powerful man on the planet and proved that when corruption hollows out a system, no vault stays sealed and no secret stays buried. Nixon's walls didn't protect him. They trapped him. The fortress he built to hide his crimes became the instrument of his exposure. Jimmy Hoffa never recovered his $3 million. In July 1975, he drove to a restaurant in suburban Detroit to meet men he believed were mafia contacts who could help him reclaim the Teamsters. He was never seen again. His disappearance remains officially unsolved, another crime from Nixon's shadow world that ended in silence. 50 years later, the United California bank heist endures as a parable, not about justice, because there was none, not about punishment, because the biggest criminal walked free. It endures because it exposes a truth that the powerful spend fortunes trying to hide. The same walls that protect secrets also imprison them. Build your vault deep enough, and you'll never be able to call for help when someone breaks in. Nixon thought his hidden money made him invincible. It made him a target, and when the thieves came, he had to watch in silence.